Hello everyone, welcome back to Slurpathon 9. I'm Andrew Scoosman, and this is the rhythm game block. I am so excited for this. We're going to start off with Sound Voltex, but I just want to remind everyone that we do still have incentives open for Dot Phase's Groove Coaster YY set. We're looking to get Brain Power and Conflict into the set list. I know you love those songs. I know I love those songs. I want to see them. So chat, let's get that done. And with no further ado, take it away, Nexton.
Alright, my name is Nexton. I'll be playing Sound Voltex. I have my commentator Khaleesi here.
Howdy.
And we're just going to start off with something easy. So that way you can see the basics of the gameplay and actually understand what is happening.
So, this first song, for anybody who likes playing games other than rhythm games, this might be something that's fairly familiar to you. This is from not Overwatch, Undertale. It's a great song. So, basically, to play this game, there are buttons that go down, or there are notes that go down on the different lanes, and there's a button mapped to each lane. So when that note hits the little orange line, you hit the button. There are other notes that we'll see eventually that are they're like orange notes that take up 2 lanes. That's when you hit the orange buttons that are under your palm. Those are called FX buttons. You can see them right about now. And then there are also lasers. Okay, yeah, we're back. And that happens to the beat of the music. The blue lasers, those are for your left hand. Those are controlled by the knob in the top left-hand corner. And the red laser is controlled by the knob in the top right hand of the controller. Put all those together, and you have a very good rhythm game. Another fun fact about this chart, when you turn the knobs, the little heart in the middle also moves, which is a little nod to Undertale, which I think was a really cool little detail added by the developers. So there can be times where you're turning the knobs and hitting the buttons at the same time. You will definitely see that in the later charts that we have in store, because some of them get very crazy, which will make this look fairly simple. A UC.
So that was the first song of the set. So that was a full combo, meaning I didn't make any misses. And this game is referred to as an ultimate chain.
Alright.
So from here, we're going to take it up a little notch.
Can you screen share in Discord real quick?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because there's some delay on the stream. Alright, cool. So anybody who plays Bomani games will be very familiar with this song. One of the cool things about Sound Voltex is since it's made by Konami, you have access to a whole bunch of very iconic rhythm game music. So anybody who's played DDR is going to be very familiar with this song, as it's a very popular DDR song, Max 300. But we'll talk about a little bit more of the mechanics. So on the right hand, you'll see a bar that keeps going up in the percentage. That's kind of your life bar. Once that hits 70%, that means that you are currently passing the chart. It can reach above 70% and then drop back down. And the max it can go is 100%. So it just adds a little bit of risk for missing patterns, and The score, it goes up to, I think, 10 million. Yeah, is that the right? Yeah, 10 million. But yeah, this remix is a very good remix. I enjoy it very heavily. So in this chart, they introduce something called crossovers, which is where you have to hit a button with your hand, and you have to move your hand to the other knob and turn it, which can be very kind of challenging at the early levels, but it can be very fun and rewarding to hit in the later levels. $983. Let's go. Now we're moving up to level 14. This is when the charts start becoming more average. They're not too hard. They're not too easy. This is, in my opinion, where the game starts to get really good. Where the charts start to have a lot more personality, per se. So you can definitely see a speed increase from the 13th to the 14th. This pattern right here, when I first started playing, that pattern always got me. But it's just little quirks like that in charts that I think make the game such a good game. This is also one of the first charts that really kind of pushes your lasers. Another UC.
No, I missed right at the end. Oh.
Oh.
Forgot about the last note.
Forgot about the last laser. This is so sad. Still got an S. And that's all that matters.
So there's one more song in the easy category, as I'm calling it. And then we start to move up to some more complex patterns.
Bad Apple. One thing you'll notice if you play any amount of rhythm games or Sound Voltex, mostly just any rhythm games, is the influence of other Japanese like online pop culture. In this case, it's Toho. You will learn very quickly that there is no shortage of Toho music and remixes in Sound Voltex, which I'm not complaining about, because this song is one of the best songs in the game. This is also one of the first, what I would call a laser chart, which is essentially just a chart that has an emphasis on laser patterns rather than BT patterns. This is also one of the first charts to implement like lane spins, which can add a little emphasis and difficulty to reading. Once you also start getting to 16s, It's when you start seeing patterns where your hand needs to move more around the controller instead of just staying at its set position, which adds a lot of dynamics and expression to the game. So you'll also notice that here, Nexton is pressing both FXs with one hand. That is just another example of your hand having to be comfortable moving all over the controller. $993. Let's go. Now it's time for the big boy charts.
I'm also going to be turning my scroll speed up a bit. That means that the notes, I will see them as being faster. That way, I can actually make the notes patterns less dense, so that way I can read them better at the cost of reaction time. Okay. So, Place, you want to talk a bit about this chart and what exactly this is?
Yes, this is Common Break. This is, in my opinion, the hardest 16. It should be a 17, but it's a 16. It pretty much, it's a fast, technical chart. It has lots of really funky BT patterns, a really distracting background, and it's really fun to play. So you'll notice now the notes are going a lot faster than they were before, and you're having to hit lasers while hitting buttons at the same time. All while hitting relatively fast BT patterns for 16. Those trills are, and those laser spams are incredibly difficult to hit accurately. There's just so many spots in this chart where it can just mess you up if you don't read it right, which is very easy to do. You'll also notice in this chart, there are sections where Nexton has to let go of the laser while hitting patterns. That's also something that's fairly difficult to get used to when you're just starting out. Because until around the 16-17 mark, a lot of the patterns you hit, you just keep your hand on the knob. So it can be very hard to get used to just letting go and hitting other patterns. AAA plot. It's 17 time. First song here is da 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 da. If you play any other rhythm games, this is also going to be a song fairly familiar to you. And you probably already know what this chart's going to be like. This is very jack heavy with having a good set of lasers sprinkled in. So, with this being a 17, I think I should explain what many of the differences between 16s and 17s are. 17s is when it really becomes important to be comfortable with your hands all over the controller. If you're not, there are just going to be a lot of patterns that you can't hit. Lasers also become a lot more prevalent with more complex laser patterns. As you can see in this chart, even a 16 quote-unquote laser chart didn't have as many lasers at this complexity. And now here comes the fun part. A little bit of lane spins for .964. Solid score. The next song is going to be All Tale, which in my opinion is the second best song in the game. I think this song, it's an example of the diversity of music you get in Sound Voltex. Because up until now, we've heard mostly electronic video game music, and, you know, here there's a piano ballad. Which I think for it being a much calmer piece of music, they did a great job charting it to be a fairly difficult and technical chart. Which, from the start, seems like it's going to be fairly easy. But towards the end, you'll realize that there's a pretty intense diff spike in this chart. So here we're coming up to the diff spike, which if you weren't expecting this would be quite a shock on a sight read. I also love how the lane rocks during the music box portion. It's little details like that that makes me love this game. I believe this song is included in the basic subscription, which I think I should also explain. How do you actually get into playing this game? If you have an arcade, they might have the game. It's not popular in America, but it's definitely not unheard of to just find it. If you have a round one arcade, they definitely have it. But if you're playing at home, there are two ways that you can play. You can either play the PC version, which is what Nexton is playing here. This is $15 a month, and you get access to a basic subscription of songs, which is a very large selection of songs for just $15 a month. Or you can play a simulator, like Unnamed Sound Voltex Clone or K-Shoot Mania. There are plenty of charts that you can find for those simulators, as well as custom charts to play. K-Shoot Mania and Unnamed Sound Voltex Clone are free. So if you're just trying to feel the game out and you want to play it, I think that's... Yeah, there is no ticket system in Konaste, which makes it a whole lot better to play. Now, if you play any rhythm games, especially Groove Coaster, then you're gonna be very familiar with this song. This is also a fairly popular song in 2DX. Which is another Konami rhythm game. This is a very laser heavy chart with a pretty big diff spike at the end. I'd be lying if I told you that the ending never got me on this chart. So what I think this chart really shows is another laser mechanic, which is that lasers don't have to start on the edge. They can start in the middle and go either direction, which makes reading lasers a little bit more difficult than it would originally seem. It showed a little bit in Alltale where both lasers went to the left, which can also trip you up fairly easily. But the chart for this is just, it's so well made. And this is the laser pattern. It looks simple, but there's so many spots where you can mess up. There is lore. It's kind of complicated. Like, there are characters. I'm gonna be real. I don't know too much about the lore. But yes, there is lore.
There is a very good wiki that the fans maintain that you can look at if you ever are bored on a Saturday.
It's a great way to spend a Saturday. All right. Next is, and I'm gonna say it, this is gonna be controversial. This is the best song in the game. And I don't care what anybody says. This is a fairly laser-heavy chart. But the way that they integrate the BTs with the lasers in the middle, very fun to play. This chart also has a very forgiving beginning and end. Which means despite it being objectively a rather hard chart, it's fairly easy to clear. Yeah, anybody who started playing in in Heavenly Heaven will agree that this is the best song. But yeah, this chart, it starts out so calm and it ramps up so fast. And yeah, if you do want to start playing this game more at home, there are definitely controller options that you can get. The two most popular are going to be the Gammo 2 Faust 2, which is what Nexton is playing on. Another popular option is the Yuancon Sound Voltex controller, which is what I play on. Both pretty much equally good. It's mostly what you can find in stock is what I'd recommend getting. Yeah, there are simulators that you can download. They're called K-Shoot Mania and Unnamed Sound Voltex Clone, both of which are great options, which gives you access to custom charts, which the custom scene in this game is very good. Also, S, insane.
That is a new high score. Let's go.
More Vol Force.
So now we're moving up to the 18s.
The 18s. So, 18s, going from 17s to 18s is a massive wall. Up to about 16s, you can progress fairly linearly, but once you get past 16s, like 16 to 17, 17 to 18, the difficulty moves up fairly exponentially. So the main difference between 17s and 18s is just going to be pattern density. It's going to be faster, higher BPM, you know, more note density. So you really have to be comfortable moving all over the controller. You have to be comfortable with crossovers. You have to be comfortable with, you know, one-handing lasers. I'd say if you can comfortably AA or AA plus 17s, then it should be safe to move up to 18s. So this is another example of crossovers, which can be very fun once you get used to them. The laser management in this song is also... You have to be very good at managing your lasers, because otherwise it's super easy to drop and just have a hanging laser, which will just absolutely demolish your health, which is no good. AA plus, solid score. All right. Next, we have Fox 4 Rays. This is another fairly standard 18. The lasers in this chart are pretty cool. There is a part where the lane speeds down, which can be kind of trippy. Yeah, so if you're not expecting that speed change, it can be fairly difficult to read, which can make sight reading higher levels like this pretty difficult. Most of the time when people are playing 18s or 19s or even 20s, if they're getting good scores, like UC or anything like that, most of the time they're memorizing how to play a pattern. Because at levels like this, with the amount of crossovers and hand movement, it's doable, it's just not really feasible to sight read. So if you can sight read an 18 or even a 17, that's very good. $970. The ending is very fun on that chart. One of my favorites, personally. Growth Memories. So anybody who's played Sound Voltex knows that if this dude is on the chart cover, you're about to have a high BPM experience. So strap in. Just a very very BT heavy power chart. Which these are some of my favorites. Probably just because I'm not very good at lasers. I think this chart also sort of illustrates how what used to be a difficulty spike in 17s is now just kind of like a normal bridge in 18s. Which will become even more apparent once we start playing the 19s. This is, in my opinion, one of the best charts in the game. One of my favorites to play, at least. 984. Actually a very good score. Almost high score, which is kind of poggers. Alright, next we have Firestorm. If anybody's experienced or seen Sound Voltex before...
I hate this song. I hate it.
I do too. This song could probably be a 17. This is, especially in older versions of Sound Voltex, it was a big candidate for people's first 18s, since the difficulty spike is almost entirely lasers. There have been people who have played the song, like, just not played the entire first half, and then only played the second half, and still passed. Because it's just all lasers. Or just not use the buttons at all. Because in older versions of Sound Voltex, which I'm pretty sure they've pretty much patched out, there used to be this technique called wiggling, which is where you would just wiggle the knobs back and forth. And due to how lasers were calculated, that would count as you hitting the lasers. So you could pretty much just sit there at the cab, turning the knobs back and forth randomly, and you would still pass. They fixed that now, so it's definitely a lot harder to pass, but it's still fairly easy for an 18 if you're good at lasers. I'm sorry, this looks like an expensive Etch-a-Sketch. I've never thought of it like that, but now that you say it, I can't unsee it, and I hate it. Thank you. But yeah, even for great players, it's very difficult to get a good score. Alright. Next, Panicholic. This is a great example of chart style. Panicholic, I mean, a lot of artists that have songs consistently in Sound Voltex have like a style to their charts. I think Seashow is the most pronounced. It's just very chord heavy charting, which I think is very fun. Yeah, Panicholic. So yeah, this and Invitation from Mr. C are two great examples of C-show charting. This chart also has crossover trills, which can be very difficult to hit, especially on a sight read. When you get to 18s, you're pretty much not sight reading anything. Unless you're like an absolute top player. A great chart. Definitely a classic. Very iconic. C show is. I think we only have 2 more 18s, and then we're moving to the 19s, which is when stuff really starts to get interesting. It's just very laser heavy. It's a fairly standard 18 otherwise. But stuff like this is also just very normal in 19s. A cool little lane spin. We love to see it. There's also a laser pattern at the very end that's objectively easy to hit, but I just can't. Probably because I'm bad, but... .983. An actually insane score. And we're now on to our last chart before the 19s. Mayhem. Now, if you know anything about music, you might notice the BPM. It's a fairly moderate 998 BPM. You know, a nice relaxing song that you can just kind of, you know, good music to sleep to. This, I believe, is also the highest BPM song in the game. It plays more like a high 200 BPM song, but the BPM itself is very high, which means that lasers can be a bit more challenging to hit. I think the other two highest BPM songs are 666 and 777, which are by the same artist, Rough Sketch. But I think this also just shows the musical diversity in Sound Voltex. It's sort of like how the laser hits are calculated. Yeah. this chart also has a sick background. Which, you know, whenever a song has a custom background, you're about to play some real funky music. Those trills at the end are also very difficult to hit. $972 on Mayhem is not bad at all. But now, we're on to 19s. Which is a bigger wall than 17s to 18s. Because you basically have to take what was normal in 18s, which is already kind of insane, and you have to crank the volume up to 11. You'll immediately notice that the intro of this song is already pretty much just patterns that we'd see at the peak of 18s. Another thing about 18s, or 19s rather, is that there will be very few times where you're not having to hit BTs while managing lasers. Which means at 19s is when players can really kind of develop their style of play. Because there's not necessarily one right way to hit a pattern. There can be 3 or 4, and it's entirely players' preference how they want to hit the pattern. And I think it goes without saying, you especially have to be very comfortable all over the controller. Although if you're attempting 19s without being comfortable all over the controllers, and you manage to get past 18s, then just built different. Very nice score. All right, Snowstorm. This is one of the lower BPM 19s, but don't let that give you, you know, don't think that it's any easier than any other 19, because it is still incredibly difficult. Yeah, the BT patterns on this chart for being 180 BPM are just insane. $9.58 on Euphoria? Or, yeah, Euphoria. Right. Let's see. Gecko Rambu. This is, in my opinion, the hardest song that we've played so far. It's an even mix of pretty much all of the mechanics. So you pretty much have to be very well-rounded to be able to fare well on this chart. There's also a really cool medley of a bunch of sound Voltex music. So it's really cool to play and try and find all the songs. These jacks are also very difficult to hit at this BPM. Especially if you have one hand that's slower than the other, which is fairly common. All right. Now, I believe we're going into tutorial.
The final song so far.
Yeah.
Thank you all for sticking this far.
Yes, thank you. This chart, I'm not going to spoil what's in this chart. I'm going to tell you it's a little bit different from the rest of the rest of the charts that we've seen so far. And charts like this are, in my opinion, what makes this game so beautiful. So it starts out as a fairly normal power chart. Although those jacks are absolutely insane. Here it comes.
Listen. Go. Listen. Go.
So essentially the chart stops and it tells you what it will sound like. So that you have to kind of get an idea of what's happening in the chart before you actually play it. Which is, in my opinion, a really cool gimmick. Especially if it's your first time playing the chart and it wasn't spoiled for you. It's so cool. There are other charts that do stuff like this, like One is Illness Lilin, I believe, which is where the lanes actually go transparent, so the notes are just floating. You just got spoiled. I'm so sorry. Another is 666, where the lanes actually get split in half, which can lead to some fairly funky reading.
Alright, that's it, that's all. Thank you so much for watching this whole thing. I hope you find an arcade near you that has this.
Yes.
I would also recommend checking out tomorrow's, what's it called again? Sequence Storm stream, as it is also very similar to this, and might be up your alley.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm just now collecting myself. Thank you so much for that run, that was really, really cool to see. Do you have any shoutouts for community or anything else you'd like to say?
For the community, not anything in particular. I would like to thank Felici for actually commenting this whole thing, as I was too busy focusing on the game. I would also like to thank everyone in the Winnipeg Rhythm Games Discord, as they are awesome and actually did help me set this up. So, shoutouts to them. That's all, really.
Alright, very, very cool. Thank you again for the run. Thank you for the commentary. That was really, really cool to catch. We will be back momentarily with more rhythm games in the Rhythm Game Block. We're actually going to have the Groove Coaster YY Party. So let's meet those incentives before we start, but I believe they'll be running throughout as well. So thank you again so much, and we'll catch you again soon.